PS5 outpacing PS4?
Move aside, Final Fantasy.
Hello and welcome to Triangle Squared, where Saul requests that you give us $1 million on Patreon.
On Patreon. Monthly. I'm
your host, Brett Beck. Alongside me, as always, is, as Peppy Pig says, that's all, folks. But
that's Peppa Pig doesn't say that.
I said, yeah, you're right. Peppa Pig. Did I say Peppa Pig?
It's Porky Pig.
Look, I'm a father, so we're going to say Porky Pig. Look, the joke has been stewing in my head since like Monday of last week for some stupid reason.
Anyways, I'm Saul Bridges. This is episode 210 of Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. You can find out later in the video where to find us. And yeah, you can also look in the description right now if you are interested, at least if you're on YouTube. But we're going to start this show off like we normally do.
Which apparently, as I've been told in this show, and I want anyone who has input on this to tell us, apparently when Saul and I get into deep argument, we put on our Baptist preacher voices.
Our what?
Yeah, so this is what I've been. I won't say who,
is somebody,
because I find it increasingly funny.
Are they being xenophobic because we're from the South?
Excuse you. But anyway, if that's what you feel like, if you feel like we're about to be like, open your PlayStations to the book of God of War or something, well, I guess that's technically not going to be fine. Because I can't believe in the God of War.
Brett, what have you been playing this week?
I beat Resistance Burning Skies, and I can still say without doubt that game is just mediocre. And, I mean, it's there. It's fun-ish.
Mediocre at best.
I mean, it's fine, but yeah, I mean, like the 5.5s, and like, I think the highest score it may have gotten was like a 6 or a 7.
Hold on. Do you disagree with that?
What?
Yeah, it's not like you're about to say it should have been higher.
No. I'm saying like the score that it got, as much as I don't, I've been on my rant lately of saying that I don't necessarily think review scores are of anything. Or of any value. I shouldn't say it that broad strokes, but I think specifically Metacritic is bad.
They are a value of the individual.
I think that individual reviewers are of value. To that degree, I think most of the reviews I've ever read on the game key in on exactly the things that I don't care about in the game. Or what I should say is that the game just doesn't make you care about. Which is like the characters trying to make it a fireman and just shoehorning fireman stuff like, red parts in the game, we're going to have you just pick people up and carry them through fire. It doesn't really do anything with the story, and your character doesn't... this is a weird thing. I don't want to spoil too much, but there's basically this thing where they want you to care about people that they've never given time on screen, and they've never had your character talk about in a way where they care about them. So then you suddenly get to them, and it's supposed to be very sad that something happens, but you've never talked about them. Your character has never talked about them. You've seen them for once for like 10 seconds at the beginning of the game, and what connection am I built with these characters?
That's technically ludonarrative dissonance, isn't it? Just in a kind of an odder way, like
in a roundabout way.
Instead of like it not telling the story through the gameplay to reach that moment,
it said it doesn't earn its moments
because it's doing the same thing of like forcing this thought onto you, like you should be sad at this moment because of this.
Yes, it's very similar to like the weird thing of forcing you to think, or not even that, but just showcasing Drake feeling bad and remorseful about having to kill the bad guy at the end of the game, but he's killed millions and millions of people on the way there. Yeah. I mean, it's true of like superhero movies too. The superheroes want to save the world, but the collateral damage that happens in the wake and all the people that die, they don't ever want to contend with. Which was one of the things I kind of liked about the Zack Snyder take on it. It's like, hey, we are going to talk about the fact that people are pissed that a guy just killed a lot of people while trying to save the majority of people.
To be fair, Marvel did that too. That was the whole thing about Civil War.
But that's about the only time that Marvel really finally brought it to roost, which is good. I'm glad they did. Civil War is an interesting movie because of it.
Yeah. So Resistance Burning Skies.
Oh yeah, Resistance Burning Skies. I kept playing Scourgebringer, which I can't remember if I had started by the time we were doing this last week.
No, we talked about it.
But it's super good.
And because I pulled it up on, I think you said you bought it, but I don't think you started it.
Yeah, I hadn't at that time, but it's very good. Fantastic. It plays like really well on Vita. I think it's a good game for Vita, and I hope that we see more, though. It's looking more and more like what's going on is that even though the store is still staying around, they are closing the ability to send games in for, what do they call it? My brain is failing me right now.
See, this is why, for those that I said last week, I'm not browsing Twitter at the moment. I don't know what that means, but I have a feeling that's important. Is that yes, no, maybe so?
I don't know. Maybe I need to look more at it, but
out of a Final Fantasy 14 image.
Yeah, be careful on the Twitters if you're not wanting to spoil things for yourself.
Speaking of spoils, though, the only game I've played this week has been Near Replicant. I have finally finished playthrough A. I did that on Friday night.
So that's my other title as well.
Yeah. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far that I've played. I was going to start... Yeah, I was going to start through playthrough B tonight, but I'm not sure if I'll have time. We're going to hang out here till about 5 and do pizza and Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I have a birthday surprise, so...
Oh, yeah, Richard will probably be happy to hear that we're getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Though,
Yeah.
Richard, I hate to tell you, I've never been one to play like the phone game or whatever where you duel people online. I've just never gotten around to it. It doesn't mean I wouldn't like it, but we're playing it in person, which is kind of where it's fun to me.
It is, yeah. That to me is the fun part. That's why I don't like Hearthstone, and that's why I don't like Magic Arena as much as the actual game, because it's... You get to have the cards, and you get to all the cool accessories and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it kind of makes it worth it. But if you want to fly down from where you live and want to play Yu-Gi-Oh with us, we have plenty of decks. Or I should say, Brett has plenty of decks. Yesterday, he's like, "I found another deck." It's like the fourth time he said it over like an hour.
So. The quality of said decks, considering it's been years since I was messing with them, is up for debate.
Also, I'm undefeated. Nobody's been able to beat me. So we'll see if this keeps going today. I have a feeling it's going to end with a new deck I built. But,
you are undefeated currently, yes.
Yes. But yeah, that's pretty much it this week. I played Near Replicant.
I'm glad you were able to get through the first story, because it was so weird trying to talk to you about certain things that you were curious about without going too far.
Yeah,
I guess is the best way to say it. Yeah, I definitely didn't want to ruin anything for you, but I was hoping I could tell you basically something, you know.
Well, and depending on,
and even now you still have questions, which is rightful.
Because you still have B, C, and D to play through, and E in this version. But I might be able to, like, when we get home tonight, I might be able to keep going. I don't know. It depends on how late I get home and how tired I am. But yeah, I guess.
After you went home yesterday, did you start playing through B again, or are you still where you last said?
No, not at all. I built that deck for Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we got food and watched Practical Jokers.
Me too.
That was my jam last night. I went to Taco Bell, got some Sonic as well, came back home and ate, and I fell asleep on the couch at like 8:45.
Eventful night for Saul.
Yeah.
I won't lie though, because we woke up, so I don't know what it was. I was tired last night at like 9. I still stayed up till like 1 o'clock because I'm just stubborn. But I was sitting there like 9 or 10. I was like, man, I'm a little tired from waking up and having a day full of trying to go find Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which is the craziest thing in the world. Speaking of which, if we wanted to be huge dick bags, we could have, because Andrew, after you left, started looking, and the box that we bought for $30 each are going for $75 on eBay.
Are you talking about the one that came with the God cards and the Exodia deck and the Kaiba deck?
Yep.
$70?
Yeah. I'm telling you, man.
So we could just go wipe out Walmart and just sell them
crazy. Well, see, it's like our local Walmarts don't even have them.
Yeah, we had to
go around to like a bunch of smaller towns, which was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, I think we should do that like once a month.
But we're not. Yeah. What I was telling Andrew we should do is kind of take on the thing that people do with, which of course we got to look and see, but like people do with Magic, where you go and buy a box and try to create a deck out of that box and then just use it.
Yeah.
I want to do that. See if we can find like a new set that has a box, buy a $30 box, and just make the best deck we can out of it and see how they do.
So I was actually, it's funny you brought that up. I actually watched a video today about the drafting tournament, and the way they did this drafting tournament is every creature card, every monster card or whatever is all types.
Oh, that's how you balance it.
So if you draw a card that says your machine type monsters or cards or whatever, it works on every single monster you have because it's all types.
Yeah, but because you're having to kind of make a mix max deck.
Yeah, and it's 30 cards. So
okay, I mean that's not a terrible idea. We could definitely mess with that, but we're going to go ahead and get into the community's take here. And the community's take was kind of based off of something last week that, while it's I'm not going to say unlikely, we don't know right now what's going on with it, but PlayStation Home was renewed for its trademark, and that of course leads to the question: is this just holding on to the name, or is there something in that idea that could come back and do something nice? So the question was simple. PlayStation's Home's trademark was renewed. If it were to come back, would you be excited by the idea of a game-based social space in 2021? And I kind of meant that as in, there's so much competition. Did you play the original? And we had a lot of answers to this that were interesting. Blaze2102 over on our Discord says, I had a lot of fun in the original PS Home. I hung out in the bowling alley and talked trash. If they bring it back with VR, I'm sold. And there's a couple of things going on here. I like the spread of answers because I think it shows the reality of what something like PlayStation Home is going to be, which is the reality. It's never going to be for everyone. It's kind of like PS communities, right? When the PS4 had communities, people used it.
Yeah.
But not probably the majority swath of people. I don't know what the split, like on PS3 when it was around, I don't know what the split was. The game never came to PS4, and I think that's what ended up being its killer. It was supposed to, and then it didn't, and then it just closed down. But I don't know what the game looked like. What percentage of PS3 users dipped their toes in Home? What percentage stayed on Home? Because I know one of our listeners, Richard, he talked about using it as kind of a social space to meet people to play games on, and I think that is a good idea because right now you have this thing of where some people want an easy barrier, but they don't necessarily want to have a Facebook or something like that. So if Saul was like, I'm liking this game, but I don't know anybody to play with, let me go into this social space that doesn't require me to have like a Facebook or a Twitter or any of that mess and just go on and talk to people and see people that are finding similar games, go to that game space and go from there. And I think that those ideas work, but I think it's partially on my mind because games like Godfall and stuff don't have matchmaking. Destiny had matchmaking. Destiny 2 had matchmaking for like a small window, and they made it seem like it was going to be a big thing. And if I'm not mistaken, Saul, Destiny 2 does not have matchmaking anymore.
What?
I mean, for like raid events and whatnot. Do you remember they had LFG looking for game?
Well, they had they had that weird.
And that's not around anymore.
Matchmaking based system, like where you can be the I forget what they called it. It was guided games. Is what it was called.
Guided games. That's
yeah,
like, it's kind of like you could Sherpa someone through it.
I didn't know if they took that out.
I hadn't seen anybody use it, and I'm pretty sure I don't see the logo there anymore. Now, it may be that they just found another way around it.
No, it looks like it's still there. It just they might have moved it around. I haven't played Destiny 2 in like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, me either.
Or at least it feels like it. I'm not sure if that's how long it's been.
Either way, it's interesting. I think that there's games that don't do a great enough job, or they do it, but people don't necessarily want to be involved. I mean, like blogs are still a thing, I assume, right? So if you want to play Warframe and just hop on the Warframe blogs, is that a way to pull that off? Like
you'd probably go.
Or not a blog. What is it called?
You'd probably go to a Reddit, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. Reddit's another way through.
That's become the new default thing of like. You find a new hobby, go look for a subreddit for it because there's going to be one.
Discord too. And actually, somebody brings that up. I think it was over on Facebook.
It's on Twitter as well.
Was it?
Yeah. Chad, he said Discord pretty much has that covered already. I'm sure there's better things they could focus on, which is interesting because also Liam says not really. Put the effort in the other things instead.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's a reasonable thing. It just depends on who they have do it and what the purpose of that team is and how many people it takes. And I guess that's really what it comes down to is resource management.
Oh my gosh. Blue Point remaking PlayStation Home.
You know how mad someone would be that they remade PlayStation Home? They'd be like, but what about Metal Gear Solid?
Well, that's what they've been alluding to this whole time with like the Symphony of the Night stuff and everything like that.
It's that they're going to have PlayStation Home with all of its game spaces.
Yeah. So that you could have like a Castlevania, you could have a Alucard outfit, or you could have a Snake outfit.
Well, see,
they would be hated.
Yeah, that would be a big deal. But I've actually said that I think that PlayStation Home has this thing that lets you kind of go through and have extra incentive for like platinuming things or getting hard trophies. Is like the way I kind of was talking about it is it would be cool if you play, just for example, you're playing Killzone and you get the platinum in the new Killzone game. You get like some kind of item that's tied to it.
Like an actual platinum little trophy you can hang up in your house.
That'd be cool. Or even something more than that. Like you can have a room where you get items that, you have Hellgast armor set that you can place on something, or maybe it's a bust of a Hellgast head or an ISA head. You play Resistance and you can get like a Chimera stuffed head on a plaque that you can hang on the wall, kind of like like a deer, just to have fun with it.
And I think more so like I guess technically we could have phrased it better last episode, but this is also a lot of people seem to be alluding like Discord is a good like answer to this, and over on actually I don't know where I saw that comment. I'm sure we'll get to it, but people are saying, well, I guess Richard says that he uses a social space to find friends who like games, but instead, what if this was an actual game? And I mentioned in Discord last week too. where you could literally hop in, and it was really meant for you and all your buddies to get in a party to each other and follow each other around, have like a little arcade in there, have like an Uncharted that's on rails, that's like an homage to House of the Dead and stuff like that, and kind of just hang out and play virtual arcade games with each other and just chat and crap talk each other and stuff like that. It'd be fun just on that aspect alone, for me.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, let me look at the Twitter too, because I did see some stuff like that, but I'm going to go over real quick. This one's pretty long-winded, but I think it's fun. Cody McGinnis, actually one of my longtime friends, he says, I love the idea. I wish they would go more of a Ready Player One style kind of hub. It's hard to explain, but say you're in a party on the home world, and you can see you and your friends' avatars walking around interactive with each other. And in any game you have downloaded and ready to play, it will be visible in the home world as like a gate. And if your party decides to play a certain game, you just walk to said gate, play the game, and return to the home world to decide on the next game. And having VR support for the said home world would be amazing, which the VR kind of pulls the Ready Player One aspect of it kind of all the way back together.
Yeah.
But that actually would be kind of an interesting way. I know this sounds weird, and I know people that wouldn't like it, because the idea of the PlayStation 5 is to cut down how long it takes to get to a game. But I think the reality of having a normal home screen like they do for people that want that speed, but then having something like this where it's a social thing and you can get together and it's almost like your UI is this PlayStation Home.
Yeah.
And you just walk around with your friends and you see all your games listed and you can just walk into it. I actually kind of like this idea. I'm not saying it'd be perfect or for everyone. It's just one of those things where it even makes me think of like Wreck-It Ralph, where you go in and the plugs go towards they're like train stations that go to a hub, and the hub is basically the power strip, and you can go to all of them. It's a fun idea of being like, oh, look over there. There goes Call of Duty Warzone. Let's go play Warzone real quick. Hop out. Okay, let's go. Oh, look, there goes Apex Legends. Let's hop in there. Oh, okay. Well, now you know what we're going to do? We're going to go play Red Dead Online. And you just kind of keep going from game to game as quickly and as easily as you want to. That seems doable.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool, too, like if you went into the hub area, quote unquote, if you had buddies that were online, you could see them running around with you.
Well, that's what he's kind of saying. Like, you would see it, instead of having your friends list that shows online people, if they're online, you're automatically seeing them run around there.
That'd be perfect.
And it'd be cool, too, if it was like you almost saw, if they're online, you see their avatar, but their avatar may be like see-through if they're online, but they're not in home. And you can run up to them and hit it and be like, oh, invite them to come join you in home.
Or you can see them at like a little house, and it's like, okay, they're chilling in their house decorating it. Let me go ask to come over. So like you knock on the door or something, and you're like,
it sends like an invite.
Yeah, and on yours it sends like a little thing like Saul wants to be invited to your house, and you're like, cool, accept invite.
Yeah, I mean I think these are cool ideas. Now the reality is, how much would people use these? And I'm going to start pulling some of the ones. Oh, by the way, Richard Schaefer, one of our patrons, says only if it gets PSVR 2 support.
Yeah,
which I think a lot of us are excited about that idea. But Brennan Beck, one of our new join members over on the Facebook, who shares my initials and my last name.
It's a clone.
Yeah. Anyway, he says, I tried the original but didn't stick with it more than a single play session. I don't have VR but could see that being a draw if utilized. I honestly won't invest my limited gaming time in a system that doesn't involve playing a game, which I would consider home to be. Which is fair. I think that there are people that don't have the time for home to be a thing, but I also think that my mindset is somewhat changed up right now because of COVID, and while it's not affecting us here as much as it is some other people, I think that something like home would have been really cool when COVID hit hard, where it's just, hey, let's get together in a space and feel like you're hanging out with people and socializing, which we're not easily getting to do in the same way. Now, one of the things here, I think it's on this. Yes. Derek Porter's is also interesting because he says the original was so much fun for about 5 minutes. Good idea, but very poorly executed. I just remember avatars standing around. The best parts were the game-themed areas. I remember one game area, can't remember if it was Tomb Raider or Uncharted, but you had to find frogs hidden in the area. That was the extent of the fun I had. But to answer your first question, no, we don't need it. I can almost guarantee it won't succeed, and they should concentrate their efforts elsewhere. And there's a good chance that it wouldn't succeed. Who knows? But I think some of the limitations to the thing is that the game was very much built around PlayStation 3, which was limited anyway. So I think one of the big things that really should be the thing here is proximity-based vocal chat. So when you come into home, you know, you're going to have already the ability to speak to people. You can control whether you want to be in the public voice channel or if you only want your friends to be able to hear you immediately. Or if you want to go to like a hub area for a game to find people to play with, and you can switch over to like public chat where you can hear everyone to a degree. Now, there's some logistic problems there about like how do you control not everyone talking at the same time. I think that could be worked out, but I think that's part of what makes the original feel odd and slow and like people just standing around, because if you remember, all communication in home was text-based. So you did have to stand there, open the chat window, use the controller to actually sit there, type out your message, and then hit send, and it would pop up above your character.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as elegant as I think it could be now when you think of something like VR chats, where it is, you run up to someone, you're in their proximity, you can hear them.
Yeah, or you could do voice to chat.
Yes.
That like a well-functioning voice to chat could also help this game out immensely.
I just think there's ways to make this work better to alleviate those problems. I do agree that there was times, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, as someone who has fond memories of home, I didn't play more than like maybe 30 hours inside of it, but there was a lot of good ideas. And I think Saul's idea of letting it be a place where like there's a local hub area where like maybe there's a basketball court over there for a pickup game, and like a pool table for a pickup game of pool, and all that stuff could be worked in. Now, again, the question is always going to be, do enough people use this to make it worth it? But that also seems like microtransaction heaven, right? Hey,
it kind of does, yeah.
And I mean in a good way. Like, hey, here's your character. You can do what you want to with him. You can play games, and we'll let you unlock certain game-based items. But also, if you want your character to have like a Jack and Daxter shirt, you can go buy a Jack and Daxter shirt for $1.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like stuff like that, like if I had friends that would play a game like this and I could buy like stuff to decorate my house with for like a fairly decent price, like I'm not trying to spend $20 to decorate my house.
Yeah, sure.
But if we had friends over that, like they could like come over, and like there could be mini games we could play, and that served as decoration and stuff like that, and I could customize it and be drastically different from your house, then yeah, I'd want to add some flair in there.
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing about all of that comes down to, my brain just went completely blank. You have to give me 1 second.
House customization? House size, perhaps?
Man, my brain 100% just failed me. I had the idea. Now it's not here. But regardless, okay, I know what I'm talking about. You know those times where you're kind of done playing the game, but you're still wanting to hang out with your friends, so y'all are just in the games. Like, Destiny's a perfect example. You're playing Destiny with a group, and then you spend 30 minutes not doing anything.
Just
you're
chilling.
In a party, chilling in orbit and talking. And to Cody's idea back in the thing, when you're done with that, the whole group moves together out into this hub space where y'all can run around and do different things and still keep kind of just shooting the crap.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
It would solve the problem, because I feel like I'm just sitting there and I'll be like, why am I even doing this? You know, it's why are we just sitting here in the menu? It's because you're trying to talk to your friends and have a good time, and you're already together. Why not make it easier to go out, maybe encourage someone to stay on a little bit longer and play one more game, or keep chatting with their friends and being like, oh, let's go play a dumb game of basketball. And my idea, and of course, idea is not always meeting of reality, but I think of like the time with Little Big Planet 2, where that ridiculous basketball game they had, where you could just be chatting with friends, go over there, run over, and basically play a version of that, even where you're bouncing around and dropping hoops and you're just cracking up and having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like what we said about like VR chat. It is the next iteration of a game like that, a social-based game where you just go around, have your own avatar, customize it, have your own space, customize it, and then just mess around with friends.
Yeah, and
when there's nothing else to play, you play PlayStation Home.
Yeah.
That could be their tagline.
I'm going to go through one that's kind of in the middle from actually White Eagle UK. I haven't heard from him in a long time, buddy. I hope you're doing well. He says, if they manage to get some of the features I remember that they were working on, like the ability to have your music played through the radio in your home and videos played through your TV, then it has the potential, especially now, to be amazing. And I kind of like that he's coming from the in-between of like, these are the things they could do. But I want to look at some of the people who loved it. So I mentioned Richard. He says, yes, I would love for them to bring it back. I used to go on PlayStation Home and try to find new friends to play games with, because all my real friends had 360s at the time. Which, again, that's what I mean. If it's either that your friends are on different consoles, which thankfully cross-play is minimizing, or if for some reason you really like a game but you don't know anybody who wants to play it with you. Yeah. Like, let's say for some reason Saul loved Monster Hunter World and none of us wanted to give the time of day. He can go be like, well, I'm just going to go to this social area for Monster Hunter and just kind of get a feel for people that I might like enough to play a game with. And there's a fun thing of that. You can meet people in a fun way.
Another person that loved it on Twitter was Constantly Kenny.
Oh, yeah, one of our patrons.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said, I played the original, had lots of fun. I was very sad to see it go. If they want to bring it back and be a good crossover with VR chat, I think they would get way more use out of it that way. Create my own PlayStation world with my achievements on display would be pretty sick.
Yeah.
It would.
Okay, so let me see where I think it's over here. Yeah, Hussein Saeed says, I was a big fan of the original. I went to visit a lot back in the days. Definitely excited to revisit it again, especially with better graphics, loading times, and more interaction options with other homers. Yeah, gonna hop on PS Home with the homers. That sounds interesting.
It does.
Though I also think you could get away with homies, right?
Right.
Like that would be fun marketing for them. Hop on PS Home with the homies.
That could work.
That could totally work. PlayStation, if you want to pay me for the idea, just start sending me review codes. Just let me play the games early. But yeah, I think the last one I'm going to do here is Jehudi MD, one of our patrons. He says, "Nah, I could count the number of times on one hand when I used it. The idea of launching an app to go play a game that I can simply launch directly never sounded appealing to me. Plus, the whole social space has been occupied with so many other platforms these days. That's not to forget how I mute most of my online games these days." Which is a fair point. I think a lot of people are like me, and I think everybody's like this to a degree. You want to be sociable on your time. You want to be sociable when you want to be sociable. I will play online games 100% by myself sometimes and mute everyone. I'm just wanting to play real people and have a challenge there, but not necessarily want to communicate with anyone.
Yeah.
So I understand that, and I would argue that I probably mute most of the online games I do play myself. So, and apparently Andrew over here, come over here, Andrew, real quick. Get in frame. For anybody on video, we want you to see great value Keanu Reeves, as Saul coined him right before we started recording. Come right here in center frame. Look at that. A new Triangle Squared side ghost member who sits here during recording
and eats pizza with us.
Plays Pokemon and eats pizza and then does the Yu-Gi-Ohs with us.
That's Keanu Reeves.
On camera, it's actually more noticeable.
Yeah,
it looks even more like it.
It is. Y'all go watch the YouTube video for this show if y'all haven't.
Oh, Andrew, we love you, buddy. But yeah. It's a fun idea, I think, to come back, but I could see people thinking it's a waste of resources. And honestly, it very well could be. And when we're talking about, thinking back a few episodes back, we were talking about PlayStation and how they're wanting to use their resources in different ways and how there's a fear of them going back to things. I guess arguably coming back with something like PS Home still feels like using your resources to rehash something you've done.
But it's something they didn't do to a full potential that they can now.
I
That's
agree.
Different than just rehashing something for the sake of rehashing something.
Yeah, I agree.
Just like I guess you could argue that doesn't make sense with what we said about The Last of Us, because The Last of Us wasn't like to their full potential now, but that gap is so close to what we currently have in the form of the remake of The Last of Us or the remaster version or whatever, that what we had for PlayStation Home.
Well, arguably, this is the thing that, because it was stuck on PS3, though, too. That's the argument. Last of Us made a move to PS4 and saw a big improvement. PS Home actually closed servers in 2015, but it didn't come to PS4, so a lot of people moved on away from it. I would say that a lot of people's last times playing Home were probably in 2013, same year as The Last of Us came out. The Last of Us has also been used more, and it's just also a different idea. I think one's a game, and one's a game-like social space, which arguably, if I'm being honest, sounds more fun to me than a text-based social space like Facebook or Twitter, or certainly the idea of a video-based social space like Instagram. I have absolutely zero want for Instagram, but that's me. I know that that's a big popular thing, but for me, I would definitely be down for the idea of coming into a social space that's game driven.
The only reason I would start up an Instagram was for photography reasons, and I want more pictures than what I have now
to do so.
Yeah, because I could actually release stuff. Oh, we're starting to stutter again.
Yeah,
this may be audio only. We've been having technical difficulties.
All day.
All day.
Yay.
As long as Brett's computer doesn't make that world-ending sound it made earlier.
Look, I'm gonna say I said that was my last one, but we so seldom hear from the Skinny Rage here that I want to shout out Ryan. He says, I messed around with the original. I thought aspects about it were cool. E3 booth experiences and group theater trailers reveals were neat. The second life-ish home decorating was okay. I imagined a VR chat style PS Home would be obvious. And he linked to a tweet he sent out in 2016 asking Shuhei Yoshida, do you think there's a case to make PS Home return with PSVR? And I think I know I've said this like at least 3 years ago, and I know people were on that ball probably way before me, but I guess it's for people who experienced it. It seems like such an easy thing to come back like that, and it almost seems too obvious to the extent where you feel like, why wouldn't they do it? But the reality is that we're probably in our own little world of, we think it's such a great idea, and they've had... It would not surprise me, as much as we're talking about this, if Sony had focus tested the idea of coming back with it on VR, and people just focus test across the board were more or less meh on it.
Right.
But
they didn't.
But they didn't? You don't think they did?
No.
It's certainly possible. But no. Anyway, thank you all. I know we didn't get to all of them, but we try to get to as many of them as we can and still keep the flow of the show going. So thank you guys so much. And remember, this show is brought to you by you and us. By us because we sit here and do it every week, and by you because there's a handful of you guys who not only give your time, which you're also brought to you by the people who just take their time to listen, but who also go over to our Patreon and support the show every month with however much they can afford, and we are forever grateful for that, guys.
Yes, we are.
Appreciate it. If you want to join those people and get your name shouted out at the end of content, as well as other stuff, head over to patreon.com/Nartech and consider becoming a patron. We would be very grateful, but we are grateful just to have you here with us. So we're going to move on into the news, and it's an interesting week, kind of a big one. A bunch of different things happen. First thing up, more PlayStation exclusives make their way to PC with Predator Hunting Grounds hitting Steam as part of its 1-year anniversary. That is available now. The game is cross-play, but the developers have noted that all in-game progression is stored on a per-platform basis and is not transferable. So you can't bounce between platforms with your progress in tow, which is a little disappointing. If you're into that game. On top of that, the new airstrip map lands with 12 different missions to tackle and open areas and vertical play on rooftops and old radio towers. A handful of Predator specializations are coming as well, and new cosmetics as part of the Predator package DLC. So if you were into that game and maybe you've bounced out, there might be a reason to hop back in. PlayStation Plus, I never got around to playing it. They had that beta. I like Predator, but I'm not like a huge fan, so I don't know. I guess I wasn't so drawn to it. Did you play Ilphonic? Were the people behind Friday the 13th, correct?
I have no clue. I'm not a big fan of like
or what is it?
No,
asymmetrical multiplayer.
No, that aspect's cool, but I'm not a big fan of like taking real life horror enemies and putting them as video game characters. To me, that's like Mortal Kombat does it, and like it'd be cooler if there was more original stuff.
Oh, you mean like, I got you. Taking movie properties?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
But for the fans of the movies, it's really cool. I'm just not a fan of that.
Yeah, and Ilphonic did do Friday the 13th game.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, interesting.
What's weird is the publisher for this game on Steam is PlayStation Mobile.
Okay.
I don't know why that is.
That's odd.
You know, chime in and let us know.
Okay. Anyway, next up, PlayStation Plus games for May have been announced and will be available the day after this episode airs. So go hop on those. Wreckfest comes in hot as the PS5 title. Interestingly enough, Plus users seem to be getting the game about a month ahead of everyone else, as the PS5 version does not go for sale and become purchasable until June 1st, which is... If this is how Sony's going to start somewhat leveraging Plus, this is an interesting idea. Not only do you get certain games day one, you get them not early access, but kind of?
Yeah.
I don't know, but that also may speaking of Ryan, who we talked about in the community's take, he was talking about how the PS5 has somewhat blown the expectation of a lot of people that games that come over with PS5 updates would be able to carry over save data easily. It really does seem to be a mixed bag as to how easy it is to get games to do that. Wreckfest is one of them. a person on Twitter asked the Wreckfest people if the PS4 progress would be able to go to the PS5, and they said they're working on it and they're hoping to have a solution. But that is unfortunate because the one upside of the way the Xbox has handled this is that it's basically seamless.
Yeah.
And that is a big benefit. But I also wonder if that's part of it. Were they intending to have this version or the save data being able to transfer easily by the June 1st date for the normal release, and the PS Plus one just is not going to quite be there? It's not going to impact me. I haven't played the game at all, so I'll be excited to play it on PS5. But for people like Ryan, who otherwise might have had an incentive to want to go ahead and pick up a PS5 to play PS4 games that are getting updates that they continue to play, it's not very attractive in that regard.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I know Ryan's a massive fan of this game. I see him post screenshots of this game constantly, and it looks fun.
It does.
It looks like a Destruction Derby game.
Oh, that's actually what it looks like to me too. Old PS1 Destruction Derby.
Yeah.
It also kind of reminds me, and I think it might be the same developer. Do you remember the old Flat Out games on PS2?
I never played them, but yeah, I remember them.
They were like, their whole gimmick was kind of like, play the games in cars, but you're gonna do things like make your driver wreck, and then your driver will fly out and hit a dartboard, and wherever you hit, you get those points. But it was a bunch of those different style mini games, and then racing involved with them.
I don't think I ever played it.
I played them on PSP, interestingly enough, instead of the PS2. But they were big on PS2 at that time. So either way, that looks really cool. But the PS4 games that round out the rest of the month are Battlefield 5 and Stranded Deep. And Saul, I think we talked about Stranded Deep. Or I may have asked me about it or something.
We did I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but I found it when we were playing The Forest for the first time, and it looks just like The Forest, but without enemies.
Yeah, but did I tell you I played it for like an hour on PS Now?
Just not good.
At least in terms of The Forest, it's not as immediately gripping as The Forest is.
Well, The Forest, like the genius behind The Forest is that once you realize what's going on that island, which is in like the first 15 to 20 minutes of it, technically, it grips you right then and there because you are automatically like, you have a reason to run, you have a reason to build a shelter, you have a reason to play the game and figure out where to go after that. And that loops you there. From what the Stranded Deep looked like when I looked into it last, you get put on an island and it looks like you're playing Castaway Simulator. Yeah,
that's kind of it. But it's also a lot more clumsy in the way that you go about crafting and stuff like that. I think that they did a smart thing. Do you remember when Minecraft came to console? On PC Minecraft, to make a pickaxe, you had to like draw out the item. It had to be like 2 sticks, and then
to make a door was like 4 blocks all like stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, inside of the crafting thing. So you had to do that, and to make a pickaxe or a sword, like a sword would be 2 pieces of metal and a stick underneath it, and it would craft it that way, which was cool for PC. I like that kind of attention to detail, but that doesn't work very well on a console. So what they chose to do was just make a list where you go to it and it makes it for you. Smart move. The way that the Forest handles it on a console is that you open up a separate menu and you drag the things together and just pull them together.
Yeah.
A lot quicker and a lot better. It's very clunky on Stranded Deep, and it just feels like a good idea that was sadly a little bit downplayed by the fact that it was an indie game from a small team on an engine. It seems like their first game. Like, I could see that if hopefully this game did well enough for them that they get to make another, and maybe they'll do a better job at making it feel less clunky on console. It may feel great on PC.
Also, give me like Sea Zombies.
Well, I think what it is once you start making a raft to be able to go out, from what I understand, at least it looks like there are sharks in the game. But
Sea Zombies.
I don't know. That one's not. I don't feel like that's a pressing enough danger. Like, interestingly enough, I feel like sharks in the forest are more of a real danger than they feel like in Stranded Deep.
You just don't know. You're just going to die if you swim.
Fun story. Saul 100%. He's played the forest 100 hours just like we have. And last time we played, like 2 months ago with Eric, he 100% believed that we were lying that sharks were even in the game.
It wasn't until I saw them, because everybody was like, y'all watch out, there's sharks. I'm like, there's not sharks in this game. Because if you played the forest, you're familiar with this little... it's a crashed little boat that you can get into and have some cool goodies and some story info in it off the shore of the island. And I can't tell you how many times I've swam to and from that boat, and I never saw a shark, never got bit by a shark, and didn't think they existed. So when we were talking about making a bridge out there, I was like, why? You know, like for the sharks. I'm like, there's no sharks in this game.
I can't believe it. But I know why at that point you thought we were just playing into the ruse, but I was trying to tell you, you have to have a shark. You have to kill the shark for the trophy to get the platinum. So while I already had been attacked on it before that.
It could have all been a ruse.
Could have all been the ruse cruise. But yeah, Stranded Deep may be something I get back around to. If anybody's played it and they think it gets better after like the first 30 minutes to an hour, let me know. But honestly, for my survival game fix right now, I'm just waiting on Sons of the Forest, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, me too. That's my so far the games that we know is coming out this year, my most anticipated game.
I think me too.
Which comes out in a month and a half.
Yeah, but that's just that weird. You came in with no expectations, so it suddenly tops your list. I hope that big expectation I have for it now doesn't end up making me not like Sons of the Forest, but I don't know.
May 30th is when that game comes out.
Does it have a date finally?
Yep. Oh, wait, no, that's the Forest. That's the original Forest.
Okay, I was about to say, I haven't seen it, but I'm ready for it. Moving on with news, though, Sony has posted its financials for fiscal year 2020, which ended on March 31st of 2021, and in it we got some interesting information. PS5 is outpacing PS4 at this point in its life cycle, despite chip shortages, with PS5 sitting at 7.8 million units in the same time frame that PS4 was at 7.6 million units. Now, it's not a big difference, but it's kind of crazy to tell you how much gaming has grown recently, definitely as a result of the pandemic, and then even more so that they are outselling and outpacing PS4 when they can't even get PS5s made.
Yeah.
Enough, which makes you think, if they can make more of them, would this number be higher? Or is part of the reason this number is so high is because of that scarcity that kind of helped Nintendo early days too?
You know what? Yeah, that could actually be a good contender for that reason. That's honestly like the way, and you can never tell if this is intended or not, but the way it was with me when I saw the Switch sitting on the shelf, I'm like, those have been sold out for weeks now. It's like at the very end of the month that it came out. And there's one sitting there, I'm going to buy it. Because if I don't buy it now, I'll probably won't get it for another couple months.
It's that fear of missing out thing. Where it's like it's an accidental, where it's like, if I don't get this right now, but something comes out in 2 weeks that I really want, I just won't have the opportunity to get it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get it now.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I was worried. I was like, if I don't get this now, there's a chance I don't see this thing for 6 more months.
Yeah. Which thankfully didn't end up being the case.
Yeah.
But that feeling was very true.
It's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it to if you can, in my opinion. It's worth it as long as you are not making an radical decision.
Now, the thing about PS5 is that Saul's talking about end of the first month of Switch. Now, Switch got its stuff together pretty quickly and was able to start meeting demand, though I even argue that the demand might have been purposely scarce to drive up excitement towards the system. But PlayStation 5, while it may be benefiting from this, I think the reality is still true that we're 5 months out now from when it came out. This will be month 6 actually.
Yeah.
And you still can't get them easily.
No, absolutely not. And we went to a Walmart. Listen here. We went to a Walmart that's not even a super Walmart. You know how hard that is to find? And I'm not talking about a neighborhood Walmart. This was a legitimate Walmart.
It's a multiple.
That was not a super center. In this small town. And they didn't even have a PS5 there. They had the display and everything for it, but nothing there. No Xbox One, Series X either.
Yeah, they're just sold out everywhere, man. It's crazy. Moving on there, though, speaking of PS4, its total now sits at 116 million units sold, or shipped, but that's still. PS Plus sits at 47.6 million subscribers, while 338 million games were sold in the past year, and revenue hit 24.4 billion for the year for PlayStation. That is wild.
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah. Very big numbers. So Sony's doing very well. Not surprised at some of the business decisions they're making because they're best for the business, though occasionally I would like a couple of their moves to be a little more like, we're going to throw you a bone. We were talking the other day in the Discord, and, we were talking about how Epic, all these different things are going on. Josh had brought up that the Epic Game Store takes a smaller cut. So technically speaking, developers could get the same amount of money they get from Steam and sell their games for cheaper, and Epic could basically work with them to try and do that to make their store better, more pro-consumer, and also try and pick up the lost ground they have. And while there's a number of factors that go into that, like the fact that the developers set the prices themselves, part of what makes them look more attractive than Steam is that they take a lesser cut of the amount of what they get from the game whenever it sells. But, we kind of talked how I've said before, I don't believe that pro-consumer and anti-consumer are even really things because the sheer nature of business is to be pro-business. Businesses can't exist if they are not pro-business. If a business was ever pro-consumer, that business would go under. But that's just kind of one of those things where as much as I want certain things from Sony, they're doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Sometimes things have got to be pro-business and even just outwardly looking, because they are always pro-business, but even outwardly looking for them to do this well, and sometimes you just got to do that. So good on PlayStation for making sure they stick around for a lot longer. While speaking on big cash and PlayStation and Epic, court documents coming out as part of the ongoing Epic and Apple lawsuit reveal that 46.8% of Fortnite's total revenue from March 2018 through July 2020 came from PlayStation 4, while Xbox One came in second highest at 27.5% of revenue. iOS actually came in at fifth with just 7% of total revenue. I'm not surprised that consoles are doing so well. I'm surprised that iPhone and Android account for such a small percentage when those games seem ripe for making tons of money on Android. But I guess it's still, people just want to, it speaks to something we're talking about. People still want to play games with controllers. Because these games are not very fun. I'm not going to say very fun. They're not easy to play with a touchscreen in comparison. But also, I wonder why. It's also weird because PlayStation's thing is that you're locked in.
Yeah.
Did they ever fix that with Fortnite?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they ever did.
If you buy something, does it work on the other?
It didn't, but it might now. It didn't when crossplay first became a thing. Let me clarify.
No, that was because there was a huge deal about not being able to use your PlayStation stuff on your Switch, which is when people kind of hit that wall of like, oh, this is BS. That's crazy, though. This ongoing lawsuit has been giving out a lot of very interesting things. I feel like this might be one of the most interesting things to me. If you would have told me, I would have said that PlayStation 4 would have been high up there. I don't know that I would have thought that it would have been the leader by almost half of the revenue. That's big numbers.
Yes. It's sometimes hard to wrap your head around this kind of stuff, too, in terms of just how much.
Next up, though, ChinaHeroProject, and this is exciting, have revealed new gameplay for Lost Soul Aside, alongside announcing that the title will be coming to PS5, which is sensible as Sony announced that the console is coming to China on May 15th, and that is, of course, the country of origin for that game. If you don't remember Lost Soul Aside, it was shown off in 2016. It was posted to YouTube by the single developer, Yang Bing, if I remember his name correctly. I could be pronouncing it terribly, but the game was really awesome looking, kind of a mixture between Final Fantasy in the way that the world looks and the very, what would you call that aesthetic? Because, it has a Final Fantasy-ish aesthetic.
I'm not sure what that aesthetic's called, because it's like what Final Fantasy 15 does really well.
Where it sometimes looks futuristic, but a lot of it also kind of looks like it's dated on purpose,
I'm not sure what that is.
Either way, it has that Final Fantasy look to it with the characters and everything too, but it has this Devil May Cry speed and urgency to its combat and this combo system that it has. That was put out, and then Sony kind of snatched that up, partnered with him, and gave him some extra funding and people. I think that team's at around 30 people now, if I remember what I read, and it looks fantastic. So there was 17 minutes of gameplay posted on a number of different things. Go check it out. It
Absolutely.
looks really good.
If you've been a fan of the show for a while, we've mentioned this way back in the past, and it's so good to see this game come into PS5.
Yeah, I've been waiting for these updates because we've seen the game kind of hit certain things where you could play demos, but it's been pretty quiet for the most part. And for them to come out with a big 17-minute chunk of gameplay is nice. This is the kind of thing where this much of uninterrupted gameplay like this is the thing that makes you not worry that this game still can end up being vaporware. Because Final Fantasy 15, or 13 Versus as it was originally going to be, for years and years and years would have little updates where you'd see maybe 2 to 3 minutes of new footage, be it gameplay or cutscenes, and then it would just kind of go dark again for 2 years. And then we know that game never ended up coming, even in remotely that form.
Yeah.
So this is nice to see. I have a lot of hope and faith behind this game. I hope it ends up being everything I wanted it to be. Next thing up, this is a little disappointing. Activision continues to move teams around to support other parts of its business after moving Vicarious Visions into Blizzard, which they now are the team working on Diablo 2's remake. The publisher has moved Toys for Bob, the developer behind the Spyro Reignited trilogy and more recently Crash Bandicoot 4, which was excellent, to be a support studio for Call of Duty Warzone. This move did not come without some casualties, though, as the team saw layoffs as well as people leaving due to the change-up not being what they were wanting, like art directors and whatnot, which is a big deal. You're moving from... Toys for Bob was originally the Skylanders team.
Yes.
So you're moving from something... Skylanders moving into Spyro makes sense, because Skylanders was already Spyro, even though I don't think most people were aware of that. The original Skylanders was called Spyro Skylanders.
The very first one, yeah.
Very first one. And then he continued to be a character throughout all of them. But moving from that into Spyro, and then moving from Spyro even into Crash, there's a style going on there. So I can see why people are leaving, is it's just not the type of game they wanted to make. But this is also weird because it just feels like they keep having these successes. And then I don't understand the move. Like, is Call of Duty's success so monumental that these successes with IP like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro just, despite being successful, can't be successful enough for you to be like, we need more teams to work on Call of Duty, so instead of making new teams, we're just going to move you off of these things, put those IP back to rest so we can continue making buttloads of cash on Call of Duty?
I think so, unfortunately. The amount of money that Call of Duty sells, not counting like just physical copies, digital copies, microtransactions, DLCs, is just astounding.
So follow me here for a second, Saul. I'm curious your thoughts on this, because I think EA is in a similar position as Activision. Do you not think, and maybe this is what Activision feels has already happened, but Activision and EA are companies that are known for getting kind of slammed in the public opinion because of decisions like this and being so microtransaction heavy. And I feel like sometimes with Activision and EA, going back to that thing about being pro-business, right? They're clearly making tons of money on these properties, but you also want to always be able to tap into more and more market that you aren't getting, and also you want your public perception to be as good as you can kind of get it and justify. Do you not think that there's a decent argument for Capcom, for Activision to at least keep a single team working on this kind of goodwill IP that's still successful, makes money, but really in the long run, the end goal is to still be profitable while giving Activision like a good public face? You
would think so. You would think that there would be this one team dedicated for these archetypes of games that can keep them, afloat with the non-casual crowd, like the crowd that wants to see Crash, that wants to see
or Tony Hawk,
Spyro, Tony Hawk, yeah. But unfortunately, I think that they have the numbers that shows them otherwise, so they just don't care.
Yeah, but it's a shame because, the reality is business, but there are so many teams that are great that have been moved off from working on other things because of the fact that games are getting more expensive as we keep talking about to make, and then you want to double down on the ones making the most money. It's unfortunate because if you remember, High Moon Studios were the team behind both Transformers, War for Cybertron, and Fall of Cybertron. Fantastic games. I mean, fantastic games. And that goes nowhere. We don't get to do anything else with that because they got sucked into being a Call of Duty support studio. Raven Software, they were behind, if I'm recalling correctly, they were behind the Wolfenstein. What was it called? It was the PS3 Wolfenstein.
Oh, I have no clue.
I can't remember the name of it. It might have just been Wolfenstein. But they have a ton of different games, too, that I've really enjoyed, and I want to make sure I'm not lying. Yeah, Singularity was the other one I was going to say. I couldn't remember if that was EA or Activision. Singularity was a shooter game on the PS3, the 360, PS3. It was really interesting. And, again, we just don't get to see them do anything. And I'm not saying Singularity was a massive success. I don't think it was. But having all of your teams just basically... Is Activision just Call of Duty now?
Pretty much. Yeah, it's a monopoly at that.
And I'm sure I'm going to say this at the risk of there being an obvious one that I'm forgetting. What else does Activision do on a normal basis?
Not Destiny.
That's what I'm saying. So now that they don't have Destiny, what other series do they do?
I think that
that is still on running. You know.
Yeah, I think the prerequisite. No, what is it? I think that the way that you could see this happening was that the fact that they started to put Cold War into Modern Warfare. And started combining all these IPs in this
like these
space.
The sub IPs of Call of Duty.
So I don't know what they're doing.
Like the last time I can think of that I actually saw Activision do, and again, outside of remakes, because we know they did the remakes, but the last thing I can remember them doing that was interesting, and I remember Saul and I were both audibly surprised when they announced it, was Sekiro.
Yep.
That was such an odd, cool move.
2018?
Yeah, that was 2019. Oh, when it was announced, I think it was 2018. But Sekiro was a 2019 game, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. But
I can't think of anything besides Call of Duty that wasn't these remake teams doing something that Activision's put out.
Yeah, it's odd. It's like they've become the Call of Duty god company, and that they will no longer they'll worry about these other things that they have for under there, like Toys for Bob and stuff like that. But it'll majority just all go to Call of Duty, and they'll just continue to run that monopoly of, if you want a good first person battle royale, you want a good first person versus shooter game, you're gonna have to come to us, because it's gonna be all of us.
You know, I can't believe I want to say this. EA has been voted the worst company for a lot of things. And while I think Activision are doing well with Call of Duty, I think arguably this is a very odd move for them, because EA, by comparison, have done a lot of goodwill things with making something like Star Wars, despite the issues that Saul had with it, and plenty of people did.
Yeah,
it was still a goodwill thing for them. Yeah. They, of course, have Battlefield going. EA has got Skate coming back. Hopefully, to be fair, we don't actually know if that's going to make it.
Come on now, stop getting your hopes up.
But I feel like EA are at least kind of doing. They have Apex. They have, of course, all their sports games. If they want to, they could come back in and handle, like, coming back with Sims if they really wanted to. I find it interesting that right now we're in a position where EA, and Need for Speed's coming. They have. I feel like that's so weird. Then you think about the fact that BioWare is working on stuff, regardless of the fact that I don't really care about it. But Dragon Age and new Mass Effect, like EA has actually kind of got like a breadth of variety
compared to Activision
and
absolutely.
IP going.
Yeah, because all Activision has done for the past year is Call of Duty stuff. And then you have... And
again, moving forward, we may see Activision do an announcement that's like, this is what they're doing besides Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But right now, if all your teams are just Call of Duty support studios, where do you have the room?
Exactly. It's weird.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is interesting. Anyway, we got one more thing, actually. PlayStation hit us with an impromptu state of play after revealing Rivet, the new secondary protagonist of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. That was, of course, shown in the original trailer. The state of play brought with it 15 minutes of new gameplay for the title, which looks superb. It looks excellent. It looks really good. I am going to be disappointed at the fact, actually I already know it is, it's a full price game. And I only say that because I thought it was so cool that Ratchet on PS4 was $40. But it was a remake.
Yep.
Less work had to go into it as a result. I'm still will pay the $70 here, but I would have loved to see Sony continue to employ that kind of very varied pricing. Price based off of what the value that the market will see it for.
So with
like the new 40, right? If it went up, the new 40 should be 50.
Yeah. So for me, I am excited for this game. I thought Rivet's character design is lovely.
Yes.
And it's just, it kind of fits in that same area that Returnal does. Like, it looks cool. I'm sure it's going to be a great use of the PS5 features. I'm going to wait for it to go down a little bit.
I will say, I think, okay, this is going to be where I'm at right now. And I bought Returnal. Haven't played it yet. I do intend to, but I want to beat Nier and continue to be able to play my Vita some. But I think surface level, from what you can see outside looking in without playing the game, I think there's more of a reason for Ratchet to be 70 than I feel like Returnal to be 70. Now, ideally, both of them, $50 max. I mean, I get what Returnal's trying to do, and that's a good, commendable thing. And I think it's cool that Sony, as much as we talked about Sony not being risk averse, they put out a risky game, but this is how they avoid being risk averse. They charge way too much for it.
Yeah.
Sony's like, we're going to back this game, But we're also going to make sure that anybody who does buy it, we get as much money as we possibly can out of them.
Yeah, and then and at the same time, they have developers saying, if you want a sequel, buy it day one. Just like,
well, it's not. To be fair, he didn't work at Sony anymore. But
true.
I don't know. This is an interesting one though. It looks really great, and I think it does a lot to show off what the PS5 can do. The ray tracing in it looks fantastic. The way that the light actually hits and scatters because of that looks fantastic. I think it's ray traced global illumination.
The
reflections look great. Though I'm curious to see if certain ones are only going to be available in engine cutscenes, which means it's still running in real time, but they only turn it on for moments where you're going to be close enough to the character's eyes to see, like, good example, right? When Rivet or Ratchet rather lifts up, one of them two, they lift up their hand with a glove on it, and you can see the glove reflecting in their eye.
That's Ratchet doing that, yeah.
And that could be screen space. I really doubt it because of the way it's set up. I'm pretty sure it's ray traced, but are they only digging that deep in whenever you're going to see that close to the character's face? Probably. And it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I don't need something ray tracing in the eye of my character when he's running in the opposite direction, but it's a cool attention to detail. Plus,
absolutely,
smacking that crystal and having the whole new world load in front in like a second.
Yep. Was absolutely sick.
Sick indeed. So it looks really great.
I didn't watch the full gameplay trailer. I kind of skipped through because I don't like watching that much kind of gameplay,
sure,
unless it's different kind of games. But
yeah.
The rest of the state I played was kind of bad.
Yeah, so the other thing that we got before we got that 15 minutes was an update on Subnautica Below Zero. I've never played Subnautica, so I don't have that kind of for it.
Even as a fan of Subnautica, Below Zero just kind of looks like it's the opposite direction for me. Subnautica was so interesting because I was underwater.
And now it's looking at trying to get you up out.
Yeah, now I'm like on land with snow, and I'm like, yeah, like
I assume underwater still comes highly into play here.
I would hope so.
But the way that they're marketing it right now,
yeah,
it looks very much like, we're going to show you that we're also doing land.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a weird thing for Sony to do. When I see so many people on the Sony train criticize Nintendo for making a Direct with only 1 or 2 games in it, and now Sony's doing the same thing. I wonder where those people are at.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought Sony was smart. And just speaking on this, because the other thing they showed was Among Us, hitting PS4 and PS5 later this year with exclusive skins,
Ratchet and Clank
or
skin.
At least a Ratchet and Clank skin, which was cool. But I think Sony, in my opinion, were smart to show the very short trailer, announce Rivet, and then say, see more of the game at our state of play, which will focus on Ratchet and Clank and give us updates on 2 smaller indie titles. Set expectations going in.
Yeah.
And as much as these may be meh, the expectation was set that these are just going to be indie titles, so you might be really surprised, but it's
indie titles, you have to be kind of specific with those. Hollow Knight's an indie title.
That's true.
Look at Hollow Knight. And then now look at Among Us. Like, there's quality there in both of them, but obviously one of them
They're very different style games, yeah. But I still think it was the right way to go. The only thing I'd say is they said updates on 2 indie games. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah, it's an update on Subnautica Below Zero, but this is technically a reveal for Among Us. But, I mean, that just feels like getting lost in wording for no reason.
Not only that, but the Among Us trailer was like 30 seconds long.
Very short, yeah. I almost don't know that needed to be in a state of play, but it's okay. That's fine.
It also, I almost feel like that was one of the times like where it waited too long to come out because everybody could play this on their phones, which if you have a PlayStation 4, you probably have a smartphone. I would say that's a pretty good ratio there.
True.
But
you may want to play it without it being on touchscreen, though.
Yeah, and now the game's kind of far away from like the popularity it was at. I'm going to see how they use text chat in this and stuff like that. Because there is no way with a timer that's there that you could use your thumbsticks to text chat something meaningful.
My assumption here is do meaningful restrictions on voice chat.
Or just have like multiple words that you could pick from.
Yeah.
And then you could put like blue,
a wheel.
Yeah, blue sus or something like that.
I still think
it takes the fun out of it.
I still think the ideal way to do it is to just choke down communication for vocal things to where basically when you're playing the game, kind of like what we did when we were playing on PC, right? Where you do this idea of like, okay, you're in the voice chat, everybody mutes themselves when we're playing.
Right.
Unmute yourself to discuss everything.
With friends, this is perfect. That's perfect.
Yes.
But if you're playing matchmaking with random people.
Well, that's what I say. The game needs to control it, right?
Yeah.
The game needs to say, as soon as you start playing, it cuts all voice chat. None of it exists. And then it lifts that restriction whenever you call a meeting. If you die and become a ghost, there's a separate voice chat for ghost where ghosts can talk amongst each other while the people are playing.
You would hope that would. How does Xbox do it? Isn't this out on Xbox?
No, it's only on Switch console-wise.
Okay.
I could be lying, but I'm fairly positive.
I'd be curious how this would work.
I'm fairly positive it's not.
Also, I saw Brett mention in Discord, when the game comes out, if you guys want to get together one night and play on PS4/PS5, that'd be cool too.
Okay, so it's coming to Xbox, just like it's coming to PS4.
Gotcha. Community's take for this week. I want to make it kind of Lost Soul Aside eccentric.
I thought maybe we should go a little more broad this week because we've been going pretty
narrowy.
Yeah, pretty narrowing it down. I mean, do you want it to be about the state of play, or do you think?
No, we've done too many of those.
We have done a lot of those, but the state of play. The weird thing about it is it keeps
falling flat,
evolving. Maybe in the right way. It falls flat sometimes. It really does.
It does.
Yeah.
Or
it could be completely separate from news. What do you think? Do we have any fun ones that anybody's offered up?
Not lately.
Always feel free to throw out community's take ideas that you would be interested in hearing not only our thoughts, but the community's thoughts on.
Absolutely. What is your favorite fried deli meat of choice? Is it bologna? Is it ham, turkey?
It's an entire combo. It's cold cut. You get all of them together. There you go.
Are you a bologna man? A deli bologna man?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's okay.
Deli bologna is good.
Yes.
It's borderline salami.
I'm in it whenever you have everything else around, right? When you have like bologna, pastrami, and salami and all that. I'm with you.
I've never had pastrami in my life. So.
Whoa, bro, what?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. I've never had pastrami in my life.
Are you telling me right now that your serious community's take is what's your...
No, I'm not. I'm not being serious about that. Let's see.
Hey, feel free to answer that one though for us.
Yeah, let us know.
Throw out your meat suggestions.
Let us know if I should have pastrami.
You need pastrami in your life.
Oh, okay. Actually, I do.
Have you never had a charcuterie board or whatever they're called? I actually don't know how to pronounce that word.
I'm pretty sure you pronounce it right. That's how I've heard other people pronounce it. But yeah, meat and cheese board. No. I've had the adult Lunchables you could buy at Walmart that have like the...
That's kind of like a mini charcuterie board.
Yeah, it's just there's no board. It's plastic.
Yeah.
I do have a fun one, though. This is a fun one. It's very related to what we're talking about. Throughout your life of gaming, what is your favorite snack to go to when we play games? Now, I
feel like you've done this before.
We've done it in Reader Mail. They've asked us that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
But what is your favorite snack / meal? It could be your favorite meal to cook on a Friday night before you sit down and play lots of games. It could be your favorite snack to grab and go with.
This one's going to be interesting because I know people who are full on cook a meal and then eat it while you're playing.
Perfect. Tell me what that is. Tell me what it is you like, and or if you don't have one you currently do, what is one you used to do that you really like? So, favorite...
Boy, someone's going to hit us with like Vienna sausages and then going to have images of that weird slimy goop.
You just got to shake it out the sink before you eat they're good. But yeah, what is your favorite current or non-current video game food and or meal? And what games did you play along with them? And you can let us know the answer to that question if you follow us on Twitter, which is Triangle SQRD on Twitter. And you could follow us in our Discord in the link description. You can answer it there as well. Or our Facebook group over at Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast.
Oh, we're gonna have some fun with those. I think the next few weeks are gonna be kind of based around that.
Some
I think the following week's one's gonna be what's one of your go-to albums to listen to while you're playing games that are not
perfect.
Yeah.
But
we'll go through some of those. Those are fun just to give us a break.
What's your favorite podcast or movies to listen to when you play games like Destiny and stuff like that?
Yeah.
We can get fun with it. But yeah, check us out at all of those, and of course you can find us on YouTube, and most importantly, find us at Nartech over there at patreon.com/Nartech. You can become a subscriber on that, become a patron, if you will. And you get to help us out, support the channel with all the hidden costs that come with the podcast. On top of that, you get some cool benefits like custom case selections. Every quarter, we do those for people who are $5 tiers or more. And
everyone I know has responded. So those will be happening soon.
Okay, good. And for $15 technically for a case like that, that's quality you can't get anywhere else. And most importantly, I'd like to thank you all for being a part of the show. This has been a fun 200 episodes. We're at 210 now. That's crazy. We're going to be up to 250 soon. I think that's when we'll bring Reader Mail back for episode 250 or 225. I don't know yet. We'll make We'll think of something.
You demand it, and it'll move.
You demand it, and you demand it. You don't ask questions for Reader Mail. I'll kick you off this earth. But
the whole earth.
The whole earth. Like
you've been ejected. So we're coming back into Among Us.
Shut up. Can't stand Among Us speak, but so cringy. But you sus. But yeah, thank you guys for episode 210. Thank you to everybody who wants to watch and listen and hang out with us in our Discord and stuff. That is, of course, all in the link description below. And we'll see you guys back for episode 211. Thank you. And I'll
thank you guys. Sorry, someone used my number apparently at our local, or they wrote it down wrong, because it says, "Thanks, mate, for choosing Outback Texarkana. Want some social distance? Wait in your car. We'll text you when your table's ready." I'm not at Outback.
I wish we weren't.
If this is a thing where someone just used my phone number, including Saul, and went to the Outback website and then put my name in the queue for the wait list, that's actually a fantastic prank idea.
It is, because now you're getting Outback text. Ahoy, matey. Wait, that's sailors. Anyways, thank you all for episode 210. We'll see you back for 211.
Thank you, guys, and a huge shout out to our patrons: Kyle Grimm, Josh Jarrell, Matthew Green. My name is Dan, Luke Bartolomeo, Sean Sanderud, Funk Turkey, Danny Villalobos, Corey Hickerson, Blake Popst, Kevin Bacon Bits, Mark Schutz, Shadowist, Steven Salazar, The Stonard, Rich, Constantly Kenny, Solitary Red, Chris Figs, Zachary Sawyer, Landis, Rude Days 93, Josh Drago, Bailey Robertson, Brian, Donovan Williams, Derek Porter, Josh Ayers, Joshua Lago, Sean Juanillo, Tyler Powers, Jehudi MD, Rob Wartpoint, Richard Schaefer, and Hammond Egger. Thank you guys so much. And remember, head over to patreon.com/Nartech if you want to become a patron. Thanks.